what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides, and I'm here at Moss Nissan in Newport Richey, Florida. And lo and behold, some new magic has come into the Nissan dealerships. What we have is the refresh, redesigned 2019 Nissan Maxima. And what I love about this one is their top-notch SR trim level package. So let me just give you a little bit of background about the Maxima. Maxima is that full-size sedan, and it's very interesting about how the Japanese car companies and some of the other car companies from other parts of the world are sticking with that full-size sedan, because it seems that the good old SUV is killing off these cars, and we see it happening each and every day, especially here with the American brands Ford and Chevrolet and whatnot. But still, tried and true, keeping to the whole program, is Nissan with the Maxima in their full-size sedan. Now, what's interesting is Nissan a few years ago coined a little term for this car. They called it a four-door sports car. And it's interesting because they've designed it in a way to make it look more sporty than a lot of other full-size sedans that are out there. Let's go ahead, we're gonna dive right in and check out what did they do to restyle this car that's been in their lineup for decades. So right off the bat, you can see that they went with a whole new headlight design. Very fascinating. Let me point some things out to you. I really like what they did with slimming down the LED headlights and this whole housing. They brought some black into the top portion of it, but look at how the body actually integrates with the headlight housing. I don't think I've seen many car designs like that, and I feel like it gives it a very sinister look. It takes a second to kind of wrap your mind around it, especially how it wraps around to the side, but it really is great to see car companies like Nissan not just slapping some headlight on here and moving on to another part of the car. Another thing that I love with the Maxima and what they're working into the Nissan brand is that whole V-shape design. You have the silver chrome V-shape. I like the use of the gloss black. I know over time it's probably gonna get pitted, it's probably gonna get scratched, but it looks excellent on this Maxima SR. Gives it more of a upscale feel to it. I like the way that they brought the chrome from the V down into the front portion of the fascia, and it just comes out. There's like a little tiny lip spoiler. Tickle, 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 little lip spoiler here that just is enough to give it a little bit of a personality look to it. Over on the side here, we have fog lamps, which are great, and then you have these fake vents. But the good news is they didn't go too crazy with the design. I wish they would have made these functional, maybe not so much for brake cooling, but for aerodynamic efficiency. And then back at the front, what's fascinating is if you've wondered, why is it on Nissans, the emblem seems to be getting bigger, bigger, bigger. Well, guess what? It's actually working twofold for them. The reason why is that behind this massive Nissan emblem is their whole laser and radar and camera system for their adaptive cruise control and all the other safety features. So very cool how they're able to encapsulate that by the emblem here. I love the design of the grille. Another thing, before we move on, look at how they took the V. A lot of people don't see this. The V actually goes up onto the hood, and they put a very nice bulge, almost like a power bulge, to that hood. Now remember, underneath the hood is that tried and true 3.5 liter V6, still pumping out 300 horsepower. But it's nice to see them give a little personality. They could have just made that hood flat, but they put a little personality. This is their four-door sports car. As we go to the side, like I showed you from the front, the way the headlight housing wraps around, and then these are SR specific. So you have these 19-inch gloss black wheels. Now, I'm gonna zonk it because I feel like they could do something a little bit more with the design. I feel like so many Nissan products have this basic design, but I love the gloss black with this color. Really pops in the sun. Also with the SR trim level, underneath these fenders, you have stiffer springs, you have some stiffer anti-roll bars, and things that are gonna make this car handle a little bit better than your standard Maxima. So the SR isn't just about show, there is some functional go that you don't see behind the sheet metal, but it's there, I promise. As we transition down the side, I love the way Nissan hides the height of the car. By blacking out the A-pillar here and taking that black into the mirrors, it really trims it down. And I'll never forget when I saw the last generation Maxima driving on the road, it looked like the roof was almost like a chop top from a distance. So it had a very low lining roof, but to be honest with you, once we get inside, there's a ton of headroom in there, so that's really nice. But as you transition onto the roof, this one doesn't have a sunroof. You can get a dual sunroof. It's not a panoramic, but it's a dual sunroof. That would be one option that this particular one is missing. I like the chrome that runs along the base of the windows here, and I really like, just like on the front, the way they put these body lines really shows how aggressive the car is and gives it that personality. I think Nissan was one of the first to really trim it up here and then do that floating roof design. You see how they took the glass black, separates the two painted surfaces, and that is that whole floating roof design, especially with the blacked out A-pillar. So I think that's another nice feature that they bring into the Maxima. And then as we wrap it around, look at how they took the design. Let me remind you of something. If you haven't seen my Kia Stinger video, watch that. Kia does this weird thing with a red reflector. It looks like a finger. Look at how Nissan, following the federal laws, took the reflector and made it into the design of the actual taillight housing. I do like that. Full LED lighting back here. On the SR, you got this nice kick-up trunk lid spoiler. It's actually pretty good size of a kick-up here to add to the sportiness of the car. And then another thing that I think they really hit the nail on the head is with the design of the exhaust. Now, these exhausts, if you look in there, it is cosmetic only, which I am gonna zonk it. And if you look, what's that? My finger is hitting a wall. It's actually blocked off, so it's not functional quad exhaust, so I'm gonna zonk it for that. But it is nice that they went with that design rather than that vacuum cleaner design that so many other companies use. Trunk, very smart, very clean with the chrome, and then the gloss black with a little bit of flat black in the diffuser area. Obviously these vents are fake, but it looks good. I mean, I'll give them that. Like, I like the back of this car. This is a full-size car, so it is extra wide, but it really just ties the back and front nicely in a great package. Speaking of packages, let's go check out that engine and transmission underneath the hood. All right, guys, here we are underneath the hood of the 2019 Nissan Maxima SR. One engine option and one engine option only. That is that tried and true 3.5 liter V6 that is pumping out 300 horsepower and 261 foot-pounds of torque. If you're thinking about MPGs, even though this is Nissan's four-door sports car, you're gonna get 20 in the city, 30 on the highway. It's front-wheel drive. It weighs about 3,552 pounds. If I'm gonna zonk underneath the hood, I think the biggest zonk is that Nissan is still sticking with a CVT in this car. If this is their quote-unquote four-door sports car, I would like to see a dual clutch setup, some type of DCT, 7-speed, 8-speed, whatever in this car. I think it would really liven up the whole driving experience rather than a CVT. It's nice that they put hood struts on the hood to make opening and closing of the hood so much easier. And then I think another zonk that I'm gonna give it is that with the outside, how about a little bit more horsepower? You know, I'm trying to wrap my mind around what Nissan is up to, because they got cars like the 370, which they haven't touched in years, and then here they are doing a redesign, a refresh, and then not touch the engine. So that would be a zonk. But let's go ahead and fire up and hear what this 3.5 V6 sounds like. Let's go do it. All right, guys, we're inside this 2019 Nissan Maxima. If you're wondering about the color, they call this Sunset Drift, and it really is sparkling in this Florida sun. Come on in. I think you're going to see some surprises. Now, when you look at the interior, let me go ahead and tell you MSRP since we're here. MSRP for this car is around $41,000 the way you see it, but let's talk about this interior because it is surprising. Check out the door panels. Tons of leather. I love the orange contrast stitching, and I really like, if you look at the trim underneath the door handle, I like that diamond pattern. I'm so proud of Nissan for holding off the faux carbon fiber. It's nice to see that there's other designs that car companies can use besides faux carbon fiber. I like the gloss black around the chrome accents on the door handle, and I really like how the leather goes all the way around where the switches are on the door panel. When we transition from the panel onto the dash, very nice soft material, the nice orange contrast stitching. I like the way it starts up high and flows right to the center here. There's more of that nice diamond cut into the plastic here. It's hard, but it looks very beautiful, very upscale. I'm really digging the infotainment system here. I like how a lot of other cars, they're tilting it a little bit driver focused, especially in, I'm gonna say it again, four-door sports car, but that's Nissan's words, those aren't mine. How it's tilted like this, I do like the gloss black. Now, if you look closely, which it's gonna be impossible to pick up on the camera, it's actually like a charcoal metallic. It's not just like a regular like piano black. So I commend them for that. I do like the layout of the buttons. Very good size screen. It's just the font on it seems a little dated. So I don't know if they just went ahead and refreshed this and then just slapped a screen that they already have, but the graphics are a little dated. It's a little slow and cumbersome to use, but it does have all the features that you would expect at this price point. You go into menu, takes you right back to the radio and whatnot. You have dual climate. What's confusing to me is, why do they have this LED display like this? I wish the numbers match more to what you were seeing on the infotainment screen. I think it would just seem like a more cohesive package, but I do like the position of it, and I do like the way it's very slim and trim. Very nice what they did here. You have a wonderful cover where you could put your phone in, and if you look, here's the key fob. You put the keys in, it goes way deep in there. So that's one thing to be aware of. Now, one thing I'm gonna have to zonk them on this key fob since we're on the topic. This is their old style key fob, nothing fancy, nothing new. I'd like to see something at this price point, $41,000, a little bit nicer than that. But you do have USB and all that wonderfulness. 2 cup holders. Here's what's going to be shifting through your CVT transmission. I wish they would get rid of that, but I love the shifter. It's nice with the leather. I like how they took some of the gloss black here, the boot, and look at where they mounted the start-stop button. That is also very smart. Instead of having it over here, it looks very nice with the silver trim. You have a nice rotary dial. Let's go back to the screen real quick so I could show you how nice. I think this is my favorite part of the infotainment, is the rotary dial, because you could actually spin through this and go through all different sorts of features and whatnot. So I do like the rotary dial setup on that. Very easy to use. There's our temperatures for today. You go back to menu, and there we are. If we go back to the center console here, it was very smart what they did. Now, this being an SR model has a sport mode. When you put it into sport, that's going to recalibrate the steering, all of the way the throttle response is. And then here's my favorite part. This is my favorite part of the center console, these 2 switches here. I love how this car has cooled and heated seats, and guess what? It's all by the twist of a knob. I don't think I've been in a car where it has a nice knob, all one setting to go from hot to cold, real nice and easy to use. Usually there's 2 sets of buttons, and that's nice. Check out, I really like how high the center console comes up. Really kind of gives it that separation feel to give you a sports car feel to it. Excellent cubby hole here underneath the armrest, nice soft leather. And then probably one of my favorite parts are the seats. Look at how they brought the diamond pleating into the seats, this suede Alcantara material, the leather, very comfortable. It has a nice amount of bolstering to it. They're full power seats and just a very attractive looking seat. Why don't you come on over here and I'll show you the business end, because I'm telling you right now, there's a bunch going on over here. Come check it out. All right, guys, business end. This is where you're gonna be spending your time, behind the steering wheel. I love the seats, 8-way position, both sides electric. They really fit me well. I'm 6 feet, lots of headroom. So I do like the way there's no sunroof in this one, even though you could option it, because you are gonna get that extra headroom. Let's look at this steering wheel. Love the size, love the shape, love the thickness. For the flat bottom fans out there, you can see it has a nice flat bottom to it. Look at how they took the V from the front, brought it into the interior of the car. Another thing that's really unique that I don't see very often is the nice Alcantara suede material on the inside here by the controls. Very, very nice extra touch and really gives it an upscale feel. Also up here above the gauge cluster, the hood, that's all wrapped in leather with that same stitching. Very, very nice touch. Before I show you the speedometer and all the gauges, just want to point out this does have a heated steering wheel. I kind of think it's a little weird to have the button here. I wish they would have put the button somewhere closer to the wheel than having to come over here. Another thing is that this is how you activate that whole 360 safety features on this Maxima. So that's going to protect you when you're driving down the road, keeping your family safe. Another thing I wanted to point out, when we're looking at the pedals, I do like the way, even though it's an automatic, they put aluminum pedals for the brake and the gas pedal. And then check this out. When is the last time you've seen one of these? That's a clutch, right? Wrong. That is your e-brake, a foot operated e-brake. I can't remember the last time. That's bringing back so many memories of older cars with that foot actuated e-brake. How about, do you remember those little buttons down here where you could turn your high beams on? That's not in the Nissan, but that just reminded me of all that. Coming back to the steering wheel and the dash, I almost chuckled. I chuckled twice. I chuckled when I saw the foot e-brake, but then I chuckled at the size of these paddles. Now remember, this car has a CVT. That means it has no gears in the gearbox, but they give you these paddles that you could go into sport mode and it's simulated gears. What's fascinating, what made me chuckle is first of all the size. I've been in a lot of different cars, including like Audi R8s and stuff, and the paddles are so small and I always thought that was a problem. This car, they got you covered with big paddles. Another thing is that they're attached to the steering column, not the actual steering wheel. A lot of people complain when they're doing track days and whatnot that it's hard sometimes to hit the pedal. In this car, you're not going to have a problem. Will you be tracking your Maxima? Hey, more power to you if that's where you want to go, whatever floats your boat. Let's talk about what's floating our boat in the center of the instrumentation. So you have an analog tachometer, analog speedometer. I like that. In the center, you have this wonderful digital display where you could go, it's got your drive computer, it's got your fuel economy, all your different driving aids, tell you what the speed limit is, your tire pressures, all that kind of stuff. You have this little sport mode where it tells you what power mode you're in, your temperature, all that information right smack dab in the center. Very nice touch, very nice feature. Other than that, like I said, everything really is nicely exactly where it's supposed to be. Let's see how it is for your passengers in the back seat. Let's go check it out. All right, guys, in the back seat, I'm telling you, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. You would think with that lower sloping roof line, you'd have like no headroom back here. Remember, 6 feet tall, lots of headroom. That would be a little different if you go with that dual sunroof. So definitely, if you have bigger kids, bring them with you when you're test driving one of these to give them a feel in the back. But being a full size, I love all the room, nice leg room, even though I did not move the seat forward. What's also nice is that you have your USB charging ports here and also rear AC vents. And I like the way that they took the silver from the front vents and brought it back here. Here's another nice touch. Full leather seats. And when we say full leather, leather on the front, leather on the whole backside. So you got a nice, map pocket here. Your kids can put their iPhone, their iPad, whatever they got. And even on the door trim, they took the leather from the front, brought it to the back seat. Very nicely done. I love how comfortable it is back here. I feel like I could go for a longer ride. Even the back portion now, if you wanted to like sleep and you're just like bored and you just want to, your iPhone is dead and you want to go to sleep, it's going to be a little tight, but just sitting normal, like a normal human being, it actually feels pretty good. The seat is tilted back a little bit, and they also brought the leather all the way to the door edge. I can't tell you other cars I've been in where they cut the seat material and then they make this hard plastic. So it's nice that they brought it all the way to the edge. How about armrests? Very nice. You actually have cup holders, and here's something you don't see very often, a slot for your device. So you can put your phone in there, jam out to your tunes while your parents are driving or whatever the story is. And we have that wonderful Alcantara suede material. Very nice touch. Let's go ahead and check out the trunk of this full-size sedan. All right, guys, time to check out what can you put in the trunk of a Nissan Maxima SR. So obviously with that keyless entry, you just open it right up. I'm a little surprised. Let me explain. I would have thought that this opening would have been a tad larger. It's pretty good, but it comes in on the sides here, so that's something you're definitely gonna have to take into consideration if you're gonna buy that 80-inch TV you've been dreaming about. But once you get whatever's going inside, there's a pretty good amount of room. The seats fold down 60-40. One problem that I'm having is like I said, once you put something in, it gets a little tight on the side. So that's gonna be a problem for wider things. Just depends on what are you hauling in your Nissan Maxima. Here's a nice touch, check this out. So you pull on that, and that's gonna release the seats. So there you go. It's nice that they put the actual controls for that here, so then you could take whatever you got and you could just go like that, 1, 2, 3. Talking about this is great. Looking at it under the sun is wonderful. Let's take this 2019 Nissan Maxima SR for a spin. Let's go do it.
Guys, we're rolling out of Moss Nissan in Newport Richey, Florida. We're in the 2019 Nissan Maxima SR. I'm really liking how comfortable this car is. The seating position's great. I love the layout of all the instrumentation. And one thing to be aware, when we start this drive and get on it a little bit, they actually pump sound into the car. And I know some of you hate that, some of you don't mind it. I personally don't mind it. You know, the exhaust, as you heard from the startup and the revs, does make some sound, and there is some sound coming from the back of the car, but they just heighten the experience, especially when you're in the sport mode, by bringing sound into the cabin of the car. And at the end of the day, hey, to my ears it sounds real. So you know, it's just one of those things. But like the overall, just the fit and feel, the finish on this car, it feels very, very tight, very connected. Like I feel planted to the road, but I'm not getting beat up by bumps, which is nice. So that's a really wonderful thing. Visibility, piece of cake. Side windows are great. Front windshield's a piece of cake. The 8 pillars are not in the way whatsoever. And that back window, even though it's very slanted, has great visibility out the back. So very impressed with that. Love where the armrest is positioned. I got the AC seats on right now. It feels good. Very quiet cabin. Very, very quiet cabin. But let me go ahead and just slow down a little bit. I'm just going to get on the gas pedal just a tad, just to hear it drop. That's the one problem. You hear some sound, but the problem is that there's no gear shift changes happening. It doesn't drop down because of that CVT gearbox. If this car had a DCT transmission, it would be much more responsive and I think a lot more fun to drive, to be honest with you, because it's just very sloppy. When I stomped down on the gas pedal a second ago, it hesitated, and you know, the bands are stretching to get you the power transmitted, and it's not giving you a very sports car feel, that's for sure. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and take you down a little twisty road to see how this Maxima does. I have it in sport mode, using the paddles. Like I said, the CVT transmission is what is just making the driving experience feel disconnected. But let's see how the car handles. I'm tipping it in. For a front-wheel drive car, full size, it handles well, it powers out nicely. And that's one thing, is that the throttle, the way the power is delivered, with this being a naturally aspirated V6, it's very linear, very smooth, and it's nice to see that. Overall, like I said, with the handling, with it being front-wheel drive, it's not like a real-wheel drive performance car like a Kia Stinger GT. But tipping it in here, it pushes a little bit, but still not too bad. Let me just sit back and listen to that exhaust. Brake pedal feels good. that sound getting pumped in. It feels nice. You know, like I said, it's not real, but it makes your ears happy, and I feel good about that. In third gear, on the brakes, hit the paddle. I'm gonna be honest, I'm just gonna put it back into drive. The paddles is kind of not making me excited about driving this car, just because of that CVT. Now, if they were connected to a DCT, that would be a different story. But they're, I don't want to go too crazy, especially if I have a lot of Maxima fans out there, but they're kind of a waste, to be honest with you. Steering could be a little bit heavier, so I would like to see a change when you're in sport mode, where the steering is a little stiffer. I know when I drove some other sedans, when you go into their sport mode, it gets heavier, the steering, in a good way. So that is an area that I think they could do a little bit more work on performance-wise, is just add a little bit more weight to the steering wheel. But like I said, going down that little twisty section there, it transitions pretty well, considering it is a front-wheel drive car, and considering that this car weighs a little over 3,600 pounds. All right, guys, back driving around here, getting a feel for this 2019 Maxima. Controls, AC controls are great, easy to see. I like the size of the screen. It's just like I said, when you're in the map for the navigation, it seems a little dated. But other than that, very upscale feel in here. Not gonna mess with the paddles, just gonna drive. Usual CVT feel, but still getting the power down pretty good. I like the feel of the front end. Brakes feel great, considering they're not like a Brembo-esque or anything like that, so that's really nice. But the cabin is so quiet, and that's what's helping to give that upscale feel. So I think it's a great option. MPGs, like I said, in the city you're getting around 20 MPGs depending on that right foot. But I think it's an option out there for people who are still wanting a full-size sedan, and definitely want something that looks very 21st century, very modern. But we're gonna head back to Mas Nissan and wrap this up. I hope that you were able to get a great feel for the 2019 Nissan Maxima, that SR. And that's another thing I like about it, is the car doesn't feel like a large, large size car. It makes you feel like you're in something a little tidier, a little smaller. But we're gonna wrap this up, and I'll see you back at Mas Nissan.
All right, guys, been a wonderful day here at Mas Nissan. Definitely got to give a huge shout out to David Mas and the whole Mas family here. So welcoming to Raiti's Rides, so supportive. If these are the types of cars you like to see on Raiti's Rides, leave a comment in that comment section. If you're new and you're just stopping by, on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you. Thank you for being part of the Raiti's Rides family. I appreciate everything that you do and your support of the channel. Check out my different forms of social media. You know what they are. It's all Raiti's Rides original content. If you want to get yourself some merch, there's a link in the description underneath this video. Feel free to go ahead and support any which way you want. Speaking of support, we can't get this done without Big Guns McGee, Tom Moschner. He's liking this Maxima. He was pleasantly surprised. Well, guess what? At his next powerlifting competition, he's going to pleasantly surprise the competition and beat him down and bring home the gold for Raiti's Rides. So thank you, Tom, for all your hard work. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.